We are recording.
Fingers crossed, Bevy. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Um, Welcome, everybody. Uh, and I don't have a big intro planned. I just want to throw this first question out there, George. And if anybody in the chat has an answer, yes, no, you think you know what is a customer platform?
Yeah. Do you think you know? It's almost like a trick question a little bit, but at least it's an easy yes or no answer. Um, but I am curious to what people will say. Ooh, assumptions.
I can't type, so I'm going to say yes. I think I know.
Willem, nice.
Okay.
Does anybody?
Does
Tony,
Sorry,
anybody?
isn't I
good.
can't. My chat doesn't work.
Oh,
So
weird.
Thank you, Bevy.
Yeah.
I won't mind it, especially from Tony, because that means he's just forced to talk now. So
yeah.
Right.
that'll be good. Be better for everybody. So what do you think, Tony? When you say yes, you think what is that
So
definition?
yeah, and yeah, conscious that it's my assembled matterins, but it's a kind of it's like a raft on a data lake. In my view, so if you have a data lake, we would call it over here. I don't know if you're familiar with the term, where you've got multiple platforms or point solutions or tools and integrations, all with their own sort of perspective of the data, their own use cases and everything else. Then the CDP is usually the thing that sits above that to allow you to sort of to look through at all of it, to join it all together, to draw conclusions from the information, but also to potentially to program marketing, uh, for instance, and other things as well. It's probably driven by a bit of e-commerce uh, insight there, but that's if I having been asked, that's what I would regard as CDP, as customer platform as.
As you slip up and say customer data platform at the same
Right.
time.
Yes.
Right.
This is not hard. So I think a good goal, George, by the end of the year is that we are able to document whatever Tony just said
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
couple sentences or less. Is
Yeah.
probably our challenge.
Yeah, I think it can be kind of challenging. And here's the thing, like I want us to be careful. Sure, we got to use like marketing or sales or whatever as an example, but I also, as we move forward, I want us to be very careful of how, because historically, this is what we've done, by the way, because historically it's been about these individual silos, these individual hubs. So, Chris, can I take a stab at so, so when I think about the HubSpot customer platform, there's some words that come to mind, right? So the words all encompassing come to mind because now I want it to be everything that I can. And not that HubSpot is everything, but HubSpot plus marketplace, HubSpot plus marketplace plus partner becomes it's all encompassing. The second thing I start to think about is human powered. By the way, this is probably one of the major differences from just normal HubSpot uh, verbiage is they'll be like AI powered. Nope, sorry, it's human powered because the second thing I think of is AI assisted because it should be our brains that are thinking about how we want to engage with the humans and using a suite of tools, the historical hubs and AI assisted stuff that HubSpot is just doubling down on. And here's the thing, the rest of what I think about is all of this, all encompassing, human powered, AI assisted suite of tools. It's designed to revolutionize how we as businesses manage and enhance customer interaction. Now that's like main parts that I think everybody needs to pay attention to is managing and enhancing, which means like executing and iterating. And when you're talking about a customer platform, or when you're talking about a human centered or centric approach, there's going to have to be this manage and enhance or execute and iterate on it. And it's the other thing I think about is if it's a customer platform, then it comes down to customer interactions at every step of the buyer's journey. right? So now the other thing that I sort of separate myself from HubSpot Academy a little bit is I believe that there's a buyer's journey and a customer's journey. So what we need to think about, if this is a customer platform, it's about the interactions of the buyer's journey and customer's journey inside of this platform. And by the way, one might say beyond. Um, Chris, when I think about this hug and HubSpot's move to a customer platform, my biggest, like over the next months, years, however long we do this, my biggest hope, my biggest prayer is that we can help HubSpot users stop thinking of HubSpot as a collection of separate hubs for each department and start to imagine a unified toolbox that empowers every team in the organizations that they work for or own to work smarter. I should just say grow better because Willem's got the sticker, right? But to work smarter, grow better, but honestly have like all of this in a more cohesive way. Like that's really where I'm trying to stand on my pedestal and preach to the masses. Like we got to stop thinking about HubSpot like it's HubSpot because it's no longer the HubSpot that we used to use. Like it's dramatically different. I'll pause there, Chris. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Uh, I have some thoughts, and I'm gonna pull up a little screen share here as I kind of highlight some of the challenges I heard, from both George and Tony. And this is recently, this was recently found in the AI roadmap, and HubSpot has been developing this over the past couple of years as they've been fleshing out this customer platform concept and probably trying to guide people towards their new sales hub offerings and why you need to pay for CRM seats now and things like that, because there is a lot of power in all of these places. And one thing I like, um, one of the last words you said, George, was cohesive, right? And what they've done on this new diagram is in the smart CRM, unify, unify, unify. And I think a lot of people get off track and can like put a wall up as soon as you say platform. It's like, oh, we can't do everything in HubSpot. HubSpot's not going to replace everything. That's not necessarily the goal here, right? We're just trying to unify all of the pieces and parts of the overall system. And HubSpot is being developed in a way that supports that, better than a lot of other systems that I've seen. Your differentiation between buyer and customer was interesting. Uh, so in that scenario, when does a customer become a customer?
Yeah. So I believe that a customer becomes a customer when there's a handing off of financial funds. They have given us the dollars to do the thing, whatever the thing, the product, the service, boom. Okay, you're officially a customer. What's funny is if you look at most organizations, um, that's the finish line. And the reason I like to do this differentiation of the buyer's journey and the customer journey is it should be the starting line, right? But we just kind of drop it off. All right, closed one. Let's go party. Woo! And then all of a sudden they're in this like wasteland of like now it's not optimized, now it's not streamlined. There's probably no processes. People don't really understand how tickets and service help with that, and pipelines are like it just becomes this like and I think I know why, because HubSpot did a really great job starting at the beginning of like just defining the buyer's journey, awareness, consideration, decision. But then it never went past decision. They made the decision. Now what? I don't know. We don't got a video on that. Oh, well, how do we figure that out in our organization? I don't know. Google it. Like, and I'm being a little facetious, right? But it's never been this extended piece that we can pay attention to.
Yeah. I remember in a previous life, like so much effort was being put on initiatives like resell, cross-sell, upsell, things related to like customer activity. And then we're all like a bunch of, I wasn't an executive, but a bunch of executives in a room looking at this huge diagram of this journey. We did all this effort and literally nothing after closed one. Like when that's like at least half, if not more, of what you need to think about. And it's like, and I'll pause it and I'm curious, you know, uh, Willem, you're on the customer success team at HubSpot. I have some
So they
issues
say, yeah.
with even thinking that that transaction of dollars is a start or a finish line, right? And when I see the word unify, I like to define customers, and I'm trying to see if this is actually viable, especially when we get to things like customer experience, which is how I relate customer platform. As soon as there's a value exchange, that person could be considered a customer. And if we move that definition, now we can actually unify. And I think that's our challenge right now, the shift to customer platform, which is unification of all this stuff. But in reality, like George's definition, which I think is very is in the majority, that's like, oh, customers happen over here, right? It's all this other stuff, when HubSpot has always been the marketing and sales, like buyer focused, platform. I was hoping you could maybe chime in on that, like kind of
For me,
crossover.
what I really think about is impact and driving impact. And impact is something that I feel you should talk about in the very first conversation that you have, and setting that basically, I'm not going to say in the contract necessarily, but it should be just about there. That you really say, like, okay, as a SaaS service or as a service provider, we are going to talk about the impact that we expect. We're going to talk about how we create recurring impact. And that's where I, keeping my job and my role in mind, look at the contacts and the customers a little bit different. Because if we would just sell cars, for instance, where you, Chris, you buy a car and maybe in 10 years' time you'll buy another car, and that's probably not from me, then we are really talking about a transaction as a one-time occurrence. And as soon as I sold the car, it's like happy days. I don't need to talk to you for another 10 years. Bye. Where in what most of the HubSpot customers and the partners do, it really is about a relationship. And that is where George's comment is basically spot on. It doesn't stop at any point whatsoever. So my thought is, on one hand, with selling a car, it may just stop and you may have to go through everything again. But what if, from a partner perspective, you really start with saying, well, impact, impact, impact. And I think that a data platform, and yes, I'm throwing in data there again, Tony, so sorry for not just saying customer platform, but customer data platform, will drive that, because it will give you all the information that you need. And I feel that a lot of our customers don't really grasp that. They still wonder, why can't you just go back in your life cycle stages and that sort of thing? Yeah, but that's a whole different discussion.
Oh my God, is that a
Yes, it
different
is.
discussion? Like, and Chris, I want to pull something out, and it'll kind of tease and entice the folks who are here today, but we can also talk about it in some of the exterior communication that we put out around this hug. To hear Willem talk about impact, I started to envision in my brain like a conversation of, when you adopt the customer platform mindset, what's the overarching impact that is possible, that could happen? And then as much as I'm like trying not to, because I see hub on top of unify, what's the impact for each one of these? And then even drilling down further, like, well, what's the impact of the tool inside marketing or the tools inside of sales? And what does that impact actually branch out to? That right now you're thinking of it as a sales tool to impact, but this tool could be for marketing. This tool could be for sales. This tool could be for service. And here's the impact based on even that. And again, an easy to go for me on this one is we can sit here and have a conversation around snippets, templates, and sequences. It's not a freaking sales tool. It's sure originally when it shipped, it was part of the sales hub, but it is a communication tool. Marketing can communicate in it. Service can communicate in it. Sales can communicate in it, right? So like, but here's the thing: most mere mortal humans, aka HubSpot users, they're like, oh, this is a sales set of tools. And I'm like, no, this is to help your customer have a great experience set of tools. So impact at each of these levels would be a dope conversation as we move forward.
Yeah, it would be nice if they didn't make these look exactly like silos, right?
Oh, I mean, you think? Like, at least make it just all gray so it's like in the same blob. That would be nice.
But I think that's tied to the, this is a sales diagram, and this is about feature recognition and about sell it the way that they sell it. I think what I'm coming from on the comment about the problem that it solves now, I think this is what we're saying. It's now not just a point solution, is it? You can do, when it started, you could do inverted commas, you could do marketing in it. Then they added in sales, you could do sales in it, which was my introduction to HubSpot. I didn't start using it until it became a CRM. And then, I'm jumping, but then now we've got a service hub, then ops hub. Now you've got commerce, you've got, more hubs you can shake a stick at. It's not what it was. It just isn't that thing anymore, right? So from a category design perspective, we've got to frame the problem that it solves better, is where I'm coming from, right? Because otherwise it's just going to be in competition with Salesforce, in competition with Pipedrive, because that's what people understand, right? We're not going to shift the understanding to a customer platform until people understand what problem a customer platform solves. And I think this is also HubSpot's issue. We do a lot. We're in Wales, small country. We do a lot of starter work. I have conversations with starter customers about HubSpot that I never have with enterprise customers. It isn't a different world. It's a totally different tool. It does completely different things for them. We've got to, I think, we've got to understand that. We've got to understand that for some people, it can do the job of a CRM. For others, it can do the job of an email tool or a social media broadcast tool. But when you start to think of it in terms of the OS of an organization, as a customer platform, as a way of everybody within the business collaborating on the impact that they can provide for that customer, that's a totally different ballpark. So it's a different solution almost. A different problem that is solving.
No, I think that's well said, and I think that's our goal with this hug. It's just to hopefully we can help people start to throw that caveat in there, throw that qualifier, like, yes, you can use this for emailing people like you've always been able to before, but all this other stuff exists. And even if you don't want to look at it, sometimes it's just going to be put right in your face, because you should be using some of these tools together. And that's why they're actually doing a magnificent job of tying all these different hubs together in the name of, while building pipeline might be, sales might own that. It often needs help from marketing and service, and, just kind of bringing all this stuff together. They're doing such a good job of that. Like, you can't avoid it. That's where I hope this is, the death of the point solution, right? In terms of HubSpot, because even if we try to sell it or service it or present it in that way, it's almost automatically bad expectations, like misrepresentation from the get-go. Like no matter how hard we want it to be this point solution still, it's just not that.
It's interesting, Chris, because when I was listening to Tony, where my brain went is like there's this massive thing that I've watched over the last, and I think it's progressively gotten worse. Uh, when it was just marketing tool, it was like, okay, you added in tool, you started to see this phenomenon. You add in service, okay, definitely it's like repeating itself more. Now you add in operations, commerce hub, all the rest of content. It's just like this thing that we see more and more and more and more as we're helping other clients. And that is they'll get HubSpot, and the immediate thing that they try to do is recreate their historical system in HubSpot. And that's because they're going off of CRM and bought a CRM, or they're going off of WordPress and came into the Content Hub or the HubSpot CMS, as we historically used to call it, but can't call it that anymore. I'm kind of joking. We can call it whatever we want. Well, I got a smile. I'm going to clock out for the day after this is over. But my point is, like, if it's something that it was not before, and like Tony said, if it's this completely different thing, I pray and hope that the mental connection of just creating your historical system in now a new SaaS software goes away, because you are forced to rethink everything that you did to everything you should do based on now the unification and cohesive tools, messaging, teams like that we're trying to get people to actually put into this as we move forward.
What do you got, Tony?
I just wanted to come back on that. There's a perspective, I think, of change. We're talking about change. In my experience, I think I said this to you actually, Chris. I think we're past the point of late majority for transformation, and businesses that haven't transformed now won't. And this is a perspective. I think the tools now, that particularly this AI enablement, are leading the way to a different type of company. And a lot of the companies who aren't that company never will be that company, right? So for an example, you might talk to an organization that has a sales function, that has a marketing function and a service function, like many of our enterprise clients, and never the twain shall meet. They're almost siloed by design, right? They won't transform. They'll just die, like Kodak and all these other companies that have. So HubSpot is skating to where the puck is going to be with the customer platform, because the organizations that will follow from the initial digital transformation, the initial digital revolution, Industry 4.0, Internet of Things, and so on, are going to be totally different in their DNA, right? So I think, again, from a sales and marketing perspective, it's really important for us to look for those companies and not just bust our ass trying to convince the dinosaurs who are going to die to change. Get on the ark, guys. This rain ain't going to stop. Do you know what I mean? We got to push off. You got to come with. They're not coming with, right? So this is why I'm so interested in framing this problem, because there are businesses out there now today, young businesses, startup businesses, but also mature businesses that already think like this. They think in terms of their customer. So you go back, you see distinct phases. You see sales orientation. You see production orientation, sales orientation, marketing orientation, and then digital orientation, right? I think we're just emerging out of digital orientation into a completely different world, and that's why the platform comes in for me.
So I love what you're saying, Tony. Sorry, Chris, I got to get in on this. This is juicy. It's getting juicy. I love what you're saying, Tony, and I believe with so much of what you're saying. But then there's this other part of me as a human where like it just makes me fundamentally uneasy to even think about a subset of humans on the planet that are so heels in, won't change, won't move. And And I'm a firm believer of like, well, maybe I could, or Chris could, or Tony could, or Anton could say the right thing, do the right things that we can uproot them from their like stagnant station, if you will.
Have you seen
But
Scrooge,
I
George?
hear you.
Have you seen Scrooge? Brush him off.
Yeah.
We got to brush.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing, Tony. I've been thinking about this a lot ever since you made that bold statement, which I don't think is wrong in certain sectors, but in the US, you just discounted like the entire manufacturing sector. And that's where they may have digitally transformed on the product side, on the production side, but their front offices are still a mess. And you know, Marcus Sheridan made a post recently about, he's pretty forward thinking about what impact AI is going to have, and always there to say like this is going to cause you trouble if you do not deal with it right now. And I've always thought about it from a perspective of, yeah, and if you haven't digitally transformed yet, like good luck. But in continuing to have that conversation, I think, and by the way, this diagram is within the AI roadmap, right? Which I love, because this kind of setup is kind of required to take advantage of AI. But I almost think, and I'm gonna keep playing with the idea of, can AI create, some demand, or like a feeling like maybe AI can prompt the easy button towards like, oh, now digital transformation would be less hard. Right.
I'd go there. I'd get that, and I agree. We've had that conversation. So when you can just switch your CRM on out of the box and it does all the things, right, and you don't need a HubSpot partner or anybody else, that's not then digital transfer. We're then in that next orientation, right? And whether it's done by AI or other things. You mentioned manufacturing. The US particularly. I don't want to get into any arguments with anybody, but in the US especially, the sector is artificial. It's the whole of the US economy, you can argue, has been artificially stimulated since the 70s, when since the world wars finally started to peter through. And we all need America. We all need America as the engine, right? So like the banks in the UK, they were too big to fall over during the 2008 crash. We can't continue to perpetuate that stuff. Right, these things will eventually, and I think the drive is consumerism. If you're not going to look at the consumer and become customer centric, how many companies do you know say they're customer centric, and how many companies are customer centric? I go so far to say 99% of companies are not customer centric, for the pure reason that they are profit orientated. You cannot be customer centric and profit oriented at the same time. I'm not saying that profit orientation is a bad thing, by the way. I'm saying that means you cannot be customer centric, because your number one North Star is profitability for the business, driving and growing profit. That means you're not customer centric.
So right? It's interesting, Tony. I hear what you're saying.
I can imagine America having views, George.
I believe a lot of what you're saying, but I'm always very careful of like hard and fast rules. I would say I agree to you to the point that it becomes difficult to become customer centric, because I say that I understand how we do business. I understand the business we've walked away from, the decisions we've made, because it was customer centric. It was having this thinking of being unbiased, of the human overruling the bottom line. And trust me, there are times when I want to be like, who gives a crap? Just close the deal. But the inner core is like, nope, it's going to end up dirty. It's not going to be right. And so we've got to keep this line in the sand of that. While it's difficult and we have to make decisions we don't want to, we are going to run a customer centric business. So do most people not want to put or go through the pain to actually do it? but are more than willing to say it because it's a feel-good statement. I agree with you there, but I think it's possible. It's just a next level.
And going back to Chris's point about all those companies, the manufacturing, these are, statistically speaking, right? These are edge cases that we're talking about here. The vast majority of businesses are behaving one way, and there are outliers, people like yourselves, people like us, maybe on this call. There are people who will transform, and you'll think it's all over, and suddenly they get, some old printing firm suddenly, wow, I didn't, the son will take over, the daughter will come in, and they'll be like, what do you do? Where are the computers? It will happen, right? I'm talking statistically. I'm talking about, the 80% of the businesses driving. Oh, just think about wealth and wealth creation. The capitalism itself is being undermined at the minute. If you go back to the original, Kant and Karl Marx and these guys, when these guys were talking about capitalism, it was for capitalism to have a guiding hand. It's for capitalism to look after people, right? For capitalism to trickle down and share the wealth. This was the whole point, right? We blew that. We ruined that. Reagan and Thatcher and all these guys, they stuffed that. So now we don't even make stuff to make money anymore. Now you rent stuff, you rent space to people to make money. It's mind blowing if you think about it, right? There's no capital in capitalism anymore. Anyway, that's besides the point, right?
So, Chris,
I'm talking about a movement. I'm talking about moving to a place where the majorities are not going to transform. That's what I mean. There are always edge cases I would accept. Thanks, George.
So, Chris, it's funny because at the beginning of this, you asked a question, and the last 10 to 15 minutes have proven why you asked the question and the answer of the question. You said, why do you think understanding what customer platform is difficult? It's difficult because it's hard to understand what a customer is or what a customer believes. It's difficult because it's hard to understand what the business that potentially is going to use the customer platform believes is or is going to do with it. It's difficult because there's from zero to hero, when you think about the customer experience, people paying attention to it never, and people just falling asleep because that's the last thing they thought of. And so it's so randomized based on the organization, the humans they serve, and the products, or as Tony said, the thing that they're basically like renting at some points to make this cash flow. Like, that's a whole bundle of like, oh my God, what? That most humans, now we're on a HubSpot user group, so we're thinking about it, but most humans don't even start to even try to unpack that and understand it to then apply it to, oh, so that's what this means and how I should think when I adopt a customer platform versus a CRM or a marketing tool or a set of sales tools.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I think is very important, Tony, you said it was just 99% of the companies putting profit above basically the customers. I think that that's a low estimate myself. I think that it might be slightly higher. But the question is, are they
I'm going to faint
exclusive?
right now.
Yeah, sorry about that. But the question is, are they really exclusive? Is it one or the other? Can't you say, well, okay, profit is the most important thing because we have shareholders, because we have some idiot who wants an exit of the company with unlimited holidays afterwards or whatever. But how do you make more profit? And shouldn't you put customers first for that?
And I think this is exactly why nobody's talking about this right now, because it is just the most complex version of HubSpot that we've ever experienced, both from let's say a customer platform ideal and the tool itself. But this is what we're running into when you move beyond marketing and sales and you got to involve operations and the accounting team, even if you just like, oh my God, payment links. Let's just
Yeah.
It should be so easy, right? And then the accounting team's like, we don't care about any of the stuff that you're talking about. So here's the wall of no, right? The rest of the business, cares about profitability and margin and all these kind of newer metrics that have, been around, and marketing and sales is not aloof to it, but it hasn't been the focus of how they use a tool like HubSpot. And until we get like, at least a little more comfortable and just sitting in those moments and understanding these are new conversations, new goals. They need us. We need to be able to have those conversations with them. And, if I could provide some suggested ways on like how you can think about customer platform when you're talking to somebody. I've had some success with like whether they're customer centric or not, whether they know what the word customer experience means or any of these things. They almost always uh, will be able to define, they might not have it documented, but they will be able to say out loud what their customer process looks like. Like when we get a customer, either when we're trying to get a customer, what is that process like? What, and then when they become a customer, what does that process look like? Even if they can verbalize it, right? They have to know it in order to have a business. It's behind the definition of 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 having a business and serving customers. So when you can say something like HubSpot is the place where your customer process can start and end, right? And that's like a huge difference from it being a point solution that's on the sidelines, helping with that situation. So that's starting to resonate with people. Also, throwing the word customer communication platform, like that word of communication, right? That's that's maybe the superpower of HubSpot, in my
Without
opinion.
a
It's
doubt.
its ability to manage communication like no other platform around, because it's always been built around people and the people that you're communicating with, right? The contact record. Um, if you're using, the website and going hard there, then customer experience management, comes into the conversation because you're managing, at that level, and you can use that, unified CRM data to serve all these cool experiences that you've been hearing about. So I've had some success in kind of defining it in those ways for people. And when I get there, when you get that realization, whether it be somebody in the C-suite or an individual stakeholder, it starts to click. And that's our goal with this, is like, how do we know? And I'm a believer in why, Tony's bold statement resonated with me a lot, is that I think in its current state, this is a tool, this is a platform that is one of the most affordable ever options that you can maintain and, develop yourself, that can solve for a lot of the digital transformation issues that we've seen by having, maybe the first ever truly unified, 360-degree view, of your customers, that can also be that internal place where the internal people, have the same view all the time, right? It's just, I mean, it's a complex situation for sure.
So, Chris, I want to jump in here because there's two, maybe three things that I've got to hit upon. Number one, Tony is great at throwing out some like whiz bangers, right? So, like in the chat pane, he put, "Is Chris saying marketers need to become business people?" Yeah, there is a whole conversation we could have around the term of business acumen, that I would pray and hope that marketers would understand business acumen and be a little bit sales and service. That sales folks would understand business acumen and be a little marketing and service. That service folks would understand business acumen and be, you get my point. The mix of the three, like the thing that I think has made this journey so special for me starting in 2012 is I've been able to plug in marketing, sales, service to the baseline of developer designer before I even got started with HubSpot. And so there's this higher level understanding or acumen that teams just aren't getting. The training and documentation isn't there. And so while that's a whiz banger, it's God's truth that if there was a magic wand that I could wave over companies, it would be the thing that I just said. The other piece too that I want to hit upon, Chris, as you were talking, I kind of started internally laughing because there's this mental volleyball game that I like to play sometimes. And it really is like the set spike of a conversation where you just want to like get people to do the oh shiz thing, like in their brain. And it's like, hey, are you focused on the humans? Are you customer centric? And they're like, yes, of course we are. And they're like, sweet. For the next 10 minutes, I want you to explain your VOC to me. My what? Your voice of customer. How are you actually listening or developed or built a voice of customer system in the current platform you're using? Oh, I don't think we have that. Then you're not customer centric. You're full of beep, right? I don't have a beep button over here, but I wish I did because I'd beep it. Like, so that's
Next
the
time.
thing where next time in the conversation, I really love to have those moments where like you spike it and now you can literally have the conversation of, so let's move forward and talk about or educate what being human centric really means and how the customer platform can help you do that. And again, I said it a minute ago, but it all comes back to training and documentation on expectations and like the journey forward for these folks with this.
Yes.
Can I jump in real quick?
Please, Tori. Welcome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. We have an extra level of complexity in that we're a B2B business. And so we sell to a network of dealers, but a majority of our marketing efforts are collecting leads from homeowners and then sending them to the dealers. So our big challenge is trying to track, how we have workflows that sends the leads and then follows up with the dealers automatically. But the majority tend to get kind of lost, that they'll update it, that they have an appointment or send a quote. And then the next update, they'll put called no answer. And then there's just nothing. And so it's a big challenge to see, where are the leads? We know that they buy products, but we don't know, did those products go to the leads that we sent them? And so we know that whenever we ask them, what do you need? How can we best serve you? It's always send us more leads. And so, but we're hoping that we have the professional suite, and we're hoping that Content Hub, we can create a dealer portal and give them a better way to track the leads, hopefully, instead of just sending them via email one at a time, have them have, a dashboard that they can update and stay on top.
You figured it out already, man. Congrats. That's exactly what I was going to say.
My brain was going the same direction. Like, it sounded like you were painting a picture of, we're in HubSpot, they're not. There's this black hole. Who knows? Hands up in the air. As soon as you positioned it, like, but if we got Content Hub and we've got a place where they can log in, now they can see it. We can see it. We've brought them into the magic place. Like, so yeah, you've arrived at like where you need to go, and it's amazing. But
I'm tearing up over here, George.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say.
Can I ask, like, how easy was it to figure that out as a solution to that problem?
It's something that we've been definitely looking at and like trying to create. We've had a dealer portal in the past that was just done in WordPress before we went to a CRM. And so now we have all the data in HubSpot, and we actually just upgraded from CMS Hub to Content Hub last week. So we're ready to get going and start implementing it.
Do you have the enterprise version or the
No, just the professional?
Oh, you would have so much more power with the enterprise version, because you could literally create a login scenario with like, anyway, I won't rain on your parade. You're headed in the right direction.
Yeah.
You're headed in the right direction.
Right.
Yeah.
And we have a mix of pretty big dealers that are very sophisticated, and others that are, a guy in his pickup truck working out of his home. And so don't have any sort of CRM, don't have a way. And even email is a challenge. And so, we're looking at getting SMS texts or any way that we can get in contact and get updates. And we have a very small internal sales team, only 4 people that are serving 700 plus dealers. And so it's, you can't call every single one every single week. And so staying on top of things is a challenge.
Yeah. And to Tony's point, this is an example of the people on this call probably being the ones that are going to be able to do this stuff. But that scenario, yeah, when I was my couple of, corporate like stints, exact same problems, and I'm bringing in HubSpot, and it's like, okay, how do we get them into the place where we want the data, right? And how do we make it easy for them, and how do we make it worth their time, right? This is the kind of tool that allows you to do that. But when you have to, the challenge is, so I'm guessing so you had a portal in the past and it wasn't working because it, wasn't connected to the system, and probably lots of things. And so as you moved into the CRM, some of that functionality is probably, higher on your list, it sounds like.
Right. And a lot of the portal was used for submitting RMA, submitting labor claims, and registering our systems. And they're supposed to register all the systems, but they don't always do that. But that's pretty much what the portal was used for, and just putting brochures and stuff. But
I feel like you lived in a world that wasn't dynamic at all, but because you're on HubSpot, it can be very dynamic. That's the big difference between we've got a page on WordPress where we can upload a PDF, versus the data is going to actually change and integrate to where they're at and what they need to do. Again, magical place to be. Because we're getting, I want to make sure I say something because it's something that's on my brain. And hopefully if I say it here, somebody will share this with HubSpot Academy, and HubSpot Academy will take into account or effect or make some movement on, listen, here's the thing. In 2012, the thing that made HubSpot really awesome was that there was this thing called the inbound methodology. It was a method to the madness. It was the religion to the tactics. And what we need right now is to understand that when I think about HubSpot customer platform, it's more than just a set of tools. Dang on it, Chris, if we didn't just sit and look at a screen for 90% of this, where it's talking about the tools inside the hubs, basically for the thing that you can do. But it's not just a set of tools. It's a philosophy. There's going to need to be another methodology. There's going to have to be a religion to the tactics and strategies that these business are trying to do. And some of the chapters, it's going to be integration. It's going to be strategy. It's going to be this, again, renewed sense of human powered innovation with what we're happening here. Because again, dare I say, sometimes I even feel like the HubSpot ecosystem has lost sight of the inbound methodology, let alone how that applies to the customer platform methodology or philosophy. And so some education in that direction, and talking about when and if, breaking down traditional silos, or embracing this unified approach, and how we can unlock the full potential of HubSpot for all the organizations and drive businesses to new heights that they've never thought of. Because like Tony said, they're now willing to do the things that they wouldn't do before, or they thought they couldn't do before. And so if anybody watches this and you're with the Academy team, think methodology, think philosophy, think of the layer on top of the tactics and strategies and tools. And please, by all that is holy for our HubSpot ecosystem, let's get that in place.
Yes, exactly right. Anton, we are talking about customer platform methodology, in my opinion. And it just shows the power of what they've done and how they did it when they started by literally writing the book on inbound. And just that's the DNA of this ecosystem that we've got to find a way to evolve And when I was sharing the screen, we have the marketplace and the academy and the network, which is the third layer of this, after the hubs in the CRM, that part, because HubSpot is in control of the other things, they've developed a customer platform already. The marketplace, academy, and network is behind right now. So we super appreciate, and that's why we created this, new place to talk about this, because we do need as many people talking about this as possible, or we're going to keep hearing about onboarding issues and, people not knowing. I mean, we started this conversation with Willem talking about, well, if you don't have Marketing Hub, you can't send automated emails. You can't send automated marketing emails is correct, but we can send some automated other kinds of emails. And that's the kind of thing, as we look at all these use cases, just changing the lens of, we're no longer emailing from Marketing Hub. We are emailing from the customer platform. We are not doing outreach, from Sales Hub. We are doing outreach from the customer platform. And what does that mean? Right? Because I can tell you that use case that Tori's talking about, Tony, that's one of the biggest things in the way of these companies digitally transforming, and they could solve it like that. But it's not. It's historically been these kind of crazy, expensive, crazy maintenance-ridden implementations of these other things, and you simply just don't have to do that anymore. But we kind of need when the whole ecosystem isn't singing that song, it's very confusing, and you just have to take a step back, and I'll take the point solution. It just makes way more sense. I don't want to keep thinking about all this complex stuff anymore. Show me where the leads are, right? Exactly what Tori said. And so we appreciate you guys being here today. It's an important conversation.
Don't close up yet. Martin, can I have 1 minute and then we'll go to you? 1 minute. I want to double click on what Chris said, because he alluded to the fact that, well, we can automatically send it in a different way. When I saw the update to be able to send sequences based on a form submission now, or a page view now, first of all, true fact, I did a happy dance in my office. And here's why. Because I realized at that moment in time, a conversation that we historically had around HubSpot dramatically changed. And we used to always have to have this conversation about marketing contacts versus non-marketing contacts, and how you get charged for marketing contacts, but you can have 1 billion non-marketing contacts in your CRM. So now if I can automate and augment my team 80% of the time, and they don't have to be marketing contacts, but that conversation isn't happening. People aren't connecting those dots. They're not realizing, when I say quit using HubSpot like it's HubSpot because it's no longer HubSpot, that I'm literally talking about these layers that change because they made an update. All right, Martin, go ahead.
Well, I wanted to say that I really appreciate what you said, George, about creating this sort of methodology like it was when the launch of the inbound marketing concept was there, because I think it's something that's going to be very useful for everybody to really understand what a customer platform really means, and how to actually separate how HubSpot thinks of a customer platform from other solution providers out there. Why isn't Salesforce a customer platform, for example, or Soho or Pipedrive, and things like that? I think it will, but how would you think? But it's a question for everyone, but how would you feel about being there at more documentation, training material, and things that will enable us to better understand, and actually don't feel like this is just a category, a creation move? You know what I mean? It's like, do you remember something that was called conversational marketing, for example, that lasted for a while, then it totally disappeared? I wouldn't want people to feel that this customer platform thing is sort of that category creation move, and more a totally concrete thing, an approach to technology and apps and solutions and customer centered ideas, and placing those ideas in companies that want to be great at that.
Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying, because here's the thing. If it's just the creation of a category, it'll fail. If it's the second movement in a company's amazing journey, now all of a sudden we'll get somewhere. Like, customer platform has to be looked at as, we're going to turn it into a movement. And so let's rinse and repeat what worked in modern times for modern buyers and modern partners and ecosystem, yada, yada, yada. You can continue on. Chris, man, this has been amazing, brother. Like, this is a pretty dope hug. I love these conversations.
Yes, me too. And if you're watching this, HubSpotters, apparently we just need a book called Customer Platform and a course in the academy called Customer Platform, and we'll be good. Thanks everybody for coming out, and we look forward to having the conversation with you ongoing. Kyle Jepson next month.
Oh yeah,
we'll see you guys there.
Good.
Bye everybody.
Have a great day.